All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Touchdown Glass podcast. I am your host, Michael B. Jones. You know, here at the Touchdown Glass, we are keeping it 100% real. No crazy hot takes or agendas, just good old fashioned football talk the way you like it. And as always, I appreciate you tuning in. All right, well, college football playoff begins this Friday, and then we have a great slate of NFL games for week 16. Can you believe that? We're already at week 16 and still, a lot of different clinching scenarios. We'll go over who's already clinched, so you can kind of get an idea of, where things are headed. But let's just go right into it and review what happened in week 15. We start on Thursday Night Football and a real snoozer where the Los Angeles Rams beat the San Francisco 49ers 12-6. So this was a pivotal game in the NFC West and has put the Rams now up atop right there with the Seahawks. Matt Stafford went 16 to 27, 160 yards. Nice game for running back Kyron Williams, 29 carries, 108 yards. And Puka Nacua, 7 grabs for 97 yards. Brock Purdy, 14 to 31, 142 yards. A interception. Running back Isaac Guerrero, 16 carries, 57 yards, and George Kittle, 4 catches for 61 yards. So again, pretty boring game, and the Niners actually had the lead in the fourth, but Joshua Carty for the Rams kicked 3 field goals, and that's what did it for him. And McVay here, look at this, sweeping Kyle Shanahan in the regular season. So that usually doesn't happen. It's usually the other way around. So anyway, all right, the Dallas Cowboys defeated the Carolina Panthers 30-14. So the underdog Cowboys in this one, they were the underdogs. The Panthers were finally favored in the first time in forever, but the Cowboys pull it off and win convincingly. They go to 6-8. The Panthers drop to 3-11. Cooper Rush with a career day, 18 to 29, 214 yards, 3 touchdown passes. Rico Dowdle, third 100-yard game in a row, 25 carries, 149 yards. CeeDee Lamb, another outstanding game, 9 catches, 116 yards, and a touchdown. Bryce Young, 19 to 28, 219 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Chuba Hubbard, only 32 yards on 10 carries, and rookie receiver Jalen Coker, 4 catches, 110 yards, and a touchdown. So the Cowboys, they had 6 sacks in this one and forced 4 turnovers, and that really was the difference. If Panthers, they're just a bad football team, and I know they've been playing better, but this is what bad football teams do. They just don't win games, even when things are, stacked in their favor. So Cooper Rush, a backup quarterback coming into town, Cowboys, loads of injuries. They go in and get it done. All right, the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Cleveland Browns 21-7. Chiefs go to a league best 13-1. The Browns drop to 3-11. Mahomes 19 to 38, 159 yards, 2 touchdowns. Xavier Worthy 76 yards, total yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. Jameis Winston, a rough one, 16 for 25, 146 yards. No touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Jerome Ford with 7 carries, 84 yards, and a touchdown. And Jerry Jeudy, another outstanding game, 11 catches, 108 yards. So it was 21-0 until about the end of the third. And so if this is what you consider that dominant performance by the Chiefs that we've been looking for, I guess here it is. But it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows for Kansas City, as Patrick Mahomes left with the ankle injury. Backup Carson Wentz came in to finish the game. And we'll see what that means. Is this injury going to linger? Is Carson Wentz going to start here in week 16? We'll find out. Jameis Winston benched. Dorian Thompson-Robinson came in and played quarterback for the Browns, and he's going to get the start next week. All right, the Houston Texans beat the Miami Dolphins 20-12. Houston 9-5. The Dolphins 6-8. So Houston, congratulations. They have won the AFC South for the second year in a row. CJ Stroud, 18-26, 131 yards, 2 touchdowns. Joe Mixon had 68 total yards. So the Dolphins did a good job of containing him. And Nico Collins, 4 catches for only 17 yards, but 2 touchdowns. Tua, rough day for him after, even in losses, putting up really good numbers. Not today. 29 of 40, 196 yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 picks. Jonnu Smith caught 9 balls, 48 yards, and a touchdown. The Dolphins really outplayed the Texans in this one, but when you lose a turnover battle 4-1 on the road, yeah, that's an uphill battle, and that was truly the difference in this one. So a disappointing game for Miami. They get hot, but when they have to, play a big game, they lay an egg, and that's what happened. All right, the New York Football Jets get a win. They beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 32-25. Jets 4-10, Jags 3-11. So Aaron Rodgers, pretty good numbers here: 16 of 30, 289 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was also the team's leading rusher with 45 yards. Brees Hall, 9 carries, 30 yards, 1 touchdown, and Devontae Adams, really nice game for him: 9 receptions, 198 yards, 2 touchdowns. Mac Jones for the Jags, 31 of 46, 294 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Travis Etienne Jr., 14 carries for 65 yards. And Brian Thomas Jr., that rookie sensation, 10 grabs, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns. So the Jets in this one, it was a back and forth game. The Jets in this one took the lead with 151 left. When you look at Aaron Rodgers' numbers on the year, they're really not that bad. But when you watch the tape and see certain situations, it's obviously not translating into winning and productive football. But the Jets get a win. Good for them and their fans. I'm not sure what it really means going forward. All right, the Washington Commanders hold off the New Orleans Saints 20-19. Commanders go to 9-5. The Saints fall to 5-9. So a homecoming for Jaden Daniels, 25 of 31, 226 yards, 2 touchdowns, both to Terry McLaurin, who caught 7 balls for 73 yards. Daniels also rushed for 66 yards. So that quarterback they started, Hayner, I forget his first name for the Saints, 4 of 10, 49 yards, and an interception. He was replaced by Spencer Rattler, who came in and did a decent job, and went 10 of 21 for 135 yards and a touchdown. Alvin Kamara, 70 total yards and a touchdown reception on a trick play from wide receiver Cedric Wilson. So Washington had the lead 17-0 at one point. Saints storm back. Foster Moreau catches a touchdown, a little bit of controversy. It seemed like the clock should have run out, but the Saints had time to get one more play off. Spencer Rattler hit Foster Moreau with no time left. However, the failed 2-point attempt, it was all for naught. The game's over. And Washington, congratulations, a winning season this year. All right, the Baltimore Ravens just manhandle the New York Giants 35-14. So Ravens go to 9-5, Giants 2-12. Lamar Jackson 21 of 25, 290 yards, 5 touchdown passes. Derrick Henry 14 carries for 67 yards, and Rashad Bateman 3 catches, 80 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Tommy DeVito went 10 of 13 for 68 yards. He got a concussion, had to leave the game. Backup Tim Boyle came in because Drew Lock's hurt. He went 12 of 24, 123 yards, a touchdown, interception. Malik Neighbors, 10 catches, 82 yards, and a touchdown. Just a dominant performance by the Ravens. That's really all that needs to be said. Lamar, the only team that's ever beat him in the NFC, but he reminded the Giants who he is, and might be a while before they ever beat Lamar again. But, things can change quickly in the NFL. All right, the Cincinnati Bengals beat the Tennessee Titans 37-27. So Bengals have won 2 in a row. They're now 6-8. Titans 3-11. Burrow 26 of 37, 271 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Chase Brown 25 carries, 97 yards, and a touchdown on the ground. Jamar Chase 9 grabs, 94 yards, and T. Higgins 5 catches for 88 yards and a touchdown. Will Levis was benched in this one, 8 of 12, no touchdowns, 3 picks. He was replaced by Mason Rudolph, who will be the starter next week. 21 of 26, 209 yards, 2 touchdowns, and and one interception for Rudolph. Tony Pollard, 17 carries, 45 yards, and a touchdown. And running back Tyjae Spears was the leading receiver for the Titans, 6 catches, 87 yards, and a touchdown. So the Bengals defense that has really struggled, came up big again, second week in a row, forcing turnovers. They had 6 turnovers here last week against the Titans. So, it's probably too little too late, but maybe going forward, you're seeing some different things from your personnel that could carry over into the next year, I guess. All right, the Arizona Cardinals beat the New England Patriots 30-17. So Cards at 500 at 7-7. New England falls to 3-11. Kyler Murray 23 of 30, 224 yards. James Conner, big game, 16 carries, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns. Trey McBride, 9 catches, 87 yards. Drake May, 19 of 23, 202 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Rashad Stevenson, 13 carries, 69 yards on the ground. And Kendrick Bourne, 3 catches for 44 yards. It's pretty dominant performance by the Cardinals. They led 23-3 into the fourth quarter. And offensive tackle Jonah Williams for the Cardinals recovered a fumble in the end zone. So linemen were very involved. There was a lot of if you watch the games over the weekend, linemen were involved touching the ball somehow. Dan Skipper for the Lions, we'll get to that game. Obviously, he caught a touchdown. So that's always fun to see the big guys with the ball in their hand. And when they score, I love it. All right. The Denver Broncos beat the Indianapolis Colts 31-13. So those Broncos winning season, 9-5, playoffs becoming more real by the week. The Colts go to 6-8. Bo Nix, 20 of 33, 130 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks. Cortland Sutton, 3 catches, 32 yards, and a touchdown. And Nick Bonito with a 50-yard fumble return. This was actually a lateral that he intercepted on a trick play and took it to the house. Anthony Richardson, 17 of 38, no touchdowns, 2 picks. He also had 7 carries for 46 yards and a rushing touchdown. Jonathan Taylor, 22 carries, 107 yards. And Michael Pittman Jr., 6 grabs for 58 yards. Now, obviously the story in this one is the Taylor fumble, because this would have made it a 20-7 game likely. He scores a touchdown, the extra point. So this happened a couple times, happened in the Cincinnati game, happened in this game, where we see it a little too often, where guys getting ready to cross the goal line and drops the ball. Now I watched the replay. It is super close. You almost feel like that nose of the ball may have been over the plane before he started to let it go out of his hand. The ref didn't see it that way. And it was touchback and Denver's ball. And it really kind of snowballed from there for the Colts. It just, they got in the quicksand, and it was all Broncos after that. They just had an explosive fourth quarter. It was 13-10 Indy going into the fourth. So it's kind of crazy when you see this score, 20 on unanswered points in the fourth quarter by the Broncos. But again, Sean Payton, hats off to him. He definitely deserves some Coach of the Year consideration. All right. Buffalo Bills beat the Detroit Lions on another back-to-back weeks for the Bills, where there's over, 90, where there's like 90 points scored or close to it. So 48-42, Buffalo wins in Detroit. Bills go to 11-3. Lions first loss since week 2 when they were defeated by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home. So they go to 12-2. Josh Allen, he does again, 23 of 34, 362 yards, 2 touchdowns, 11 carries, 68 yards, and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Running back James Cook, 14 carries, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns, and running back Ty Johnson was the leading receiver for the Bills with 5 catches for 114 yards. Jared Goff, 38 of 59, 494 yards, and 5 touchdown passes. Jahmyr Gibbs, 114 total yards. He had 1 rushing touchdown and 1 receiving touchdown. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, 14 grabs, 193 yards, and a touchdown. So this game, had 1,080 yards combined, 58 first downs, only 4 punts, and 1 turnover between these two teams. Of course, the big story in this one is the Lions injuries, which we are going to talk about later. All right, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers go to SoFi and handle the Los Angeles Chargers 40-17. Bucks now at 8-6, still leading their division. Chargers go to 8-6. So Baker Mayfield, big day, 22 of 27, 288 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. Bucky Irving, 15 carries for 117 yards, and Mike Evans, another outstanding game, 9 catches, 159 yards, 2 touchdowns. Justin Herbert, 21 of 33 on the day for 195, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Lad McConkey, 5 grabs, 58 yards, and a touchdown. The Bucks, it was a little back and forth here and there, and then the Bucks just exploded. And I think really what the Chargers' problem is, since losing J.K. Dobbins, is their inability to run the ball, and it's kind of becoming more apparent each week. We kind of knew the Chargers, we weren't really confident in all their personnel. Hats off to Jim Harbaugh coming in. He's squeezing blood out of a stone, but that might be drying up here. We shall see. The Philadelphia Eagles win the Battle of Pennsylvania, the Keystone State, 27-13 over the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Eagles now with a 10-game winning streak, which is the longest active winning streak in the NFL. They're at 12-2, and the Steelers go to 10-4. Jalen Hurts, 25 of 32, 290 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also had 15 carries for 45 yards and a tush-push touchdown. Saquon Barkley, 19 carries, 65 yards. A.J. Brown, 8 grabs, 110 yards and a touchdown. That should make him happy. And Devontae Smith, 11 grabs, 109 yards, and a touchdown. Russell Wilson, 14 of 22, 128 yards, and a touchdown. That was to Pat Freiermuth. I think this is his 3rd touchdown catch in a week. The tight end also had a total of 3 catches for 22 yards, and Calvin Austin the third, 5 grabs for 65 yards. So the Steelers never led in this one, and you really, when you watched it, you just felt like Philly. They did this to Baltimore. For the most part, they just separated themselves. When they play these good teams, they're showing, guess what? You're just not on our level. So I think they seem to be hitting their stride at the right time. And it's a nice, they they played Carolina, they got the win. It didn't look great, and then they come back home. They beat a good Steelers team, so I think the Eagles should probably feel pretty good about themselves. All right, Sunday Night Football. Dun, 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 dun. The Green Bay Packers beat the Seattle Seahawks 30-13. Pack go to 10-4. Seahawks fall to 8-6. So Jordan Love, 20 of 27, 229 yards, 2 touchdowns, both to Romeo Doubs, who caught 3 passes for 40 yards. Josh Jacobs, 26 carries, 94 yards and a touchdown, and Christian Watson, 3 grabs for 56 yards. Geno Smith, 15 of 19, 149 yards, no touchdowns and an interception. He had to leave the game due to injury. Sam Howell came in 5 of 14, 24 yards, no touchdown and an interception. Pretty rough day for him. And Zach Charbonnet, he had 8 carries, 54 yards and a touchdown, and Jackson Smith and Jigba caught 10 balls for 83 yards. So this one was never really in question, as the Packers led 20-3 at halftime. And if you're the Packers, you should feel good going on the road and beating a winning team in Seattle. Obviously not, always the easiest environment to play in. As for the Seahawks, it's now looks like it's going to be a photo finish between them and the Los Angeles Rams. We'll see what the Geno Smith injury looks like, and if this team, what they have the last 3 weeks. Monday Night Football, dun, 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 doubleheader, and these games stunk. All right, so the Minnesota Vikings defeat the Chicago Bears 30-12. Vikes 12-2, and right there with the Lions. I remember the Lions did beat them earlier this year, so they have the edge. Bears continue 8-game losing streak at 4-10. So this was very dominant by the Vikings, 24 of 40 for Sam Darnold with 231 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Aaron Jones had 18 carries, 86 yards, and a touchdown. He also caught a couple passes for 20 yards, giving them over 100 total yards on the evening. Justin Jefferson, 7 grabs, 73 yards, and 1 touchdown. And Jordan Addison also caught 7 passes for 63 yards. Caleb Williams, 18 of 31, 191 yards, and a touchdown. DeAndre Swift, 19 carries, 79 yards, and Keenan Allen, 6 catches, 82 yards, and the Bears' lone touchdown grab. All right, so this game was 27-6 in the fourth quarter until the Bears finally found the end zone with 5:19 left. So that's what it was. It was an ugly, ugly thing to watch, which unfortunately that's the way it looks like the rest of the Bears season is going to be. At least they were kind of having some close games, giving you some hope. We'll see if they can find anything left to grasp and finish strong with some pride. But the Vikings got to feel good about themselves. The other game, the Atlanta Falcons end their losing streak and hold off the Las Vegas Raiders 15-9. So Kirk Cousins, 11 of 17, 112 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Bijan Robinson, 22 carries, 125 yards. Drake London, 3 grabs, 53 yards, and a touchdown. Desmond Ridder, the former Falcon, 23 of 39, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. He was also the leading rusher for the Raiders, 5 carries for a modest 28 yards. Jacoby Myers caught 5 balls for 59 yards. And Amir Abdullah was a running back for the Raiders, actually the lead receiver, 7 catches, 58 yards, and a touchdown. So this one was 15-3 with 2:54 left, and the Raiders actually had a last-second Hail Mary attempt. It was intercepted by Jesse Bates, but of course the big news is the benching of Kirk Cousins. So we will talk about that here in a moment. All right, so as far as playoff goes right now, the NFC, the Lions, the Vikings, and the Eagles have all clinched playoff spots. There's been no divisions clinched yet. And the AFC, 3 divisions have been clinched. The Chiefs, the Bills, and the Texans, and the Pittsburgh Steelers have not clinched their division, but they have made the playoffs. So anyway, let's jump into the news. So I did watch the New York Sack Exchange 30 for 30 documentary. I thought it was great. I initially said last week I felt like the Gastineau Favre thing was kind of set up, and then I watched the whole clip and I'm like, yeah, maybe it wasn't. I came away feeling empathy for Mark Gastineau. He's a broken man, right? He's a broken man. He's obviously had some childhood trauma, and when you have that childhood trauma, it can linger into your life as the years goes on, and he never overcame that, and that was quite apparent. You can kind of see too how some of the players were not able to relate to him. Some of them were. Very sad to hear that Abdul Salam, who was Gastineau's best friend, did pass away after the documentary was made. I remember seeing it, but I had forgotten about it. But just a great a great documentary. Some interesting cast of characters with Gastineau, Klecko, Lyons, and Salam there. That was one hell of a defensive line. And again, very sad for Mark Gastineau. I'm glad he has a supportive wife, I guess, for the last 17 years. And he, seemed like he had a good heart, but this guy is just, never really was able to get it together. He's had some mental health things, I think Alzheimer's and dementia, but seems to be holding it together. You wish the guy as well as can be going forward, but great documentary. If you haven't seen it, check it out. All right, let's talk Kirk Cousins. Cousins has been benched. 1 touchdown pass, 9 picks in the last 4 or 5 weeks. It's almost like when you watched him in the beginning of the year. It took him a while to get his feet wet, and his ball didn't maybe quite have the zip on it that it usually does. But Atlanta's a talented team, and he's a smart quarterback, and they were finding ways to win. But here, it's just been awful, and I don't know if things have just broken down in Atlanta. Their defense hasn't been as strong, um, and Cousins has been off, and we know Kirk Cousins can be a little inconsistent, but he's never been this bad for many years. So you got to wonder, is just his body breaking down? Because at his age, mid 30s, Achilles injury, it's very difficult to recover from. Now they're going to start rookie Michael Penix Jr. Remember the controversy at the beginning of the season? They give Cousins all that guaranteed money and then make with their number one or their first overall pick. I believe I think it was their first overall that they drafted Michael Penix Jr. I think maybe even traded to go up to get him. Um, yeah, well, maybe Atlanta was onto something. Maybe they said, we're going to have an insurance policy, right? We have a veteran we're paying, and we have a rookie on a rookie pay scale. And if that veteran doesn't work out, we really like this rookie, and he's our future as well. So I'm interested to see, because I've been really impressed with this rookie class. You know how I feel. Overall, I think Caleb Williams has had a really good rookie season. He's had his moments, and I think he's going to get better. I know a lot of people disagree with that, but that's my opinion. And Drake May, obviously they're not winning, but he's shown some things. And of course, we know the other two, Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels, who's probably going to win Rookie of the Year. I think we're all interested to see what Michael Penix Jr. Can do. He's a lefty. So does that kind of throw off that offense a little bit? I'm not sure. But I think Bijan Robinson, you get him going, and so you don't put too much pressure on this guy to let him get his feet wet. And can he hold up? Because some of the concerns for Penix Jr. coming out were injuries. So is he a guy that can hold up, or are we going to see Kirk Cousins again? We shall see. All right. Speaking of injuries, the Detroit Lions, they may be in big trouble, which is a shame because they're just such a fun team to watch. They're a good story, right? All these years of losing, and here they are, towards the end of the year, the favorites probably to win the Super Bowl. And it's just one after another after another. Obviously, we know they lost Aiden Hutchinson earlier in the year, their best defensive player. He's gone. There's an outside chance he could come back for the Super Bowl if the Lions were able to make it. I'm not sure they can get there. Already out is linebacker Malcolm Rodriguez. He was hurt towards ACL, I think, on the Thanksgiving game against the Bears. And then these are some big losses. A nose tackle, Aleem McNeil. This guy is an anchor on the defensive line. Can just wreck a game. Torn ACL, gone for the year. CB, defensive back Khalil Dorsey, fractured leg, gone for the year. Cornerback Carlton Davis, fractured jaw. He's on IR. They could probably maybe get him back for the playoffs. David Montgomery sprained ACL, sprained MCL, may miss the rest of the regular season. So these are some big, big losses for the Detroit Lions, who came in with a defense that struggled in the beginning of the year. Now has then, found its way even with injuries. I think Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator, has done an outstanding job. The problem is now they're just, they're having to pull guys off the street. And that puts a lot of pressure on Jared Goff and the offense. And, they got offensive linemen banged up. That's really where their bread is buttered, that getting that offensive line going, right? Get them pushing guys out of the way, running game, play action pass. So this could spell trouble for the Lions, and it might be very critical that for them to win out and get this number one seed. I'm not sure if they can, but to have that bye week and then be at home in the playoffs, that'd be huge. But this is going to be tough, and if Detroit pulls it off, it's going to be, it'd be a season for the ages anyway, the Lions winning the Super Bowl. But if they did it under these circumstances, then we got to give Dan Campbell a lot more flowers than we've been giving him. Look for them to take some more risk because, and in this case, they might have to, right? And we might have to give Dan Campbell some grace here because what they have on the defensive side of the ball. All right. Some coaching news. Michael Vick has taken the job with the Norfolk State Spartans. So down the road here, Norfolk State University, that's kind of going to create some excitement. Him being the head coach there, obviously, deep ties to the 757. So that's pretty exciting. Mike Vrabel's name has come up. There's been rumors about Ryan Day could be leaving Ohio State and he going back to his alma mater to coach. He was also said that it's rumor that he'd be interested in coaching the Patriots if the job became available. Remember, Gerard Mayo, this is only his first year. I imagine they may give him a little more patience, but I'm not sure with Robert Kraft. How are things going there? We'll see. But obviously, Vrabel is going to be a very, very hot name here coming up here in a week or so. All right. One last thing I want to get to is the Cowboys. It seems to be a lot. I'm hearing on a lot of the sports shows and everything. The Cowboys aren't America's team. The Cowboys aren't America's team, and they're like angry about it. I mean, we got to have some. If you're in sports broadcasting, you got to have some more emotional intelligence than that, right? Okay, America's team's a nickname. There is no America's team. There's no declared America's team. It's a nickname that was given to the Dallas Cowboys. It was actually the title of a 1978 NFL Films highlight video of that 1978 Dallas Cowboys team. And Tex Schramm, who was the general manager of the Cowboys at the time, marketed that, right? He marketed it, and then it just stuck from there. And yes, they haven't won jack in a long time. However, they're talked about. They're the most valuable franchise, the highest ratings. You love them or hate them. So in that sense, you could make sense of it being America's team. Cowboy fans, we really don't care. But everyone else, you got to chill. It's just a nickname, and you can't give that nickname to someone else. It's just not going to work. So anyway, that's my thoughts on that. If you got comments, let me know because it might be fun to talk about. But aren't people taking this a little too seriously? It's a nickname that's been around almost 50 years. Just let it go. That's all it is, a nickname, not a declaration. All right, let's get into these Week 16 games. These are huge, and we start off with tonight, a very big one, the Denver Broncos at the Los Angeles Chargers. So this game is really big for the Chargers, right? The Denver Broncos have leapfrogged them in the wild card race. Chargers, though, right there at that 7th seed, I believe that is where they are. And yeah, this is huge for the Chargers. I just think Denver is riding too high, but this is a short week and it's a division game. And we know Justin Herbert's a talent, and maybe it's time for him to really put this team on his shoulders. But again, I don't know. Thursday Night Football sometimes, hopefully we have a better, game to watch than the previous week with the Rams and the 49ers, because no one wants to see, what was it, 6 field goals kicked, and that's the game. All right. We have some Saturday games, the Houston Texans at the Kansas City Chiefs. So 2 division winners. We're not sure if Mahomes is going to play, if maybe Wentz gets the start, and it'll be interesting to see what Andy Reid does with Carson Wentz. Remember, he was long gone from Philadelphia when Wentz was there. But Doug Peterson, a protege of Andy Reid, coached Wentz. We'll see maybe if Andy does his little magic with different quarterbacks. It's fun to watch. This would be big for the Texans to go on a road and really say, hey, we're better than just a default team in the default winner of the AFC South, because the AFC South's so bad. Look, we can play with the big boys. So, and then, obviously, Kansas City, they're going to need home field, I think, this year. If they're going to pull it off, they're going to need home field. And so, very crucial game for them. They can lose this one. They're still in they're still in the driver's seat. But your margin for error becomes a lot slimmer. All right. Sunday's games, or I'm sorry, there's one more Saturday game. The Pittsburgh Steelers at the Baltimore Ravens. So obviously, this is the best, in my opinion, the best rivalry of the 21st century in the NFL. Huge for Baltimore and big for Pittsburgh too, right? I mean, Baltimore could get back in the division race here if they're able to, beat Pittsburgh at home. The Steelers are going to want to rebound against a bad performance against the Eagles, and it's should be a fun one to watch. It's always great when these two teams get together. Good fan bases, just good old blue collar football. You have to love it. All right, Sunday's games: the New York Giants at the Atlanta Falcons. So maybe this is a good way for uh, Michael Penix Jr. to get his feet wet against a Giants team that really has no direction. Is believed to be tanking. The Giants may start Tommy DeVito. I'm not sure. Kind of, this game looks pretty bad on paper, but there's some curiosity things, especially with Penix Jr. playing, that you want to see. So the Arizona Cardinals at the Carolina Panthers. Obviously, the Cardinals need this game to keep their playoff hopes alive, to stay alive in that NFC West. The Panthers, had been playing really good football last week until they hosted Dallas. Can they get back to at least showing us a little something? All right, the Detroit Lions at the Chicago Bears. So if there's some good news for the Bears, the Lions are coming in with a wounded defense, and they did move the ball at Detroit on Thanksgiving in that second half. So can they get something going, and can they make a couple plays on defense to hold off Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, and that Lions offense? And this is big for the Lions. This is bigger for the Lions. The Bears season's over. This is bigger for the Lions because they have got to stay ahead of those Minnesota Vikings. Remember, they got a leg up because they beat them earlier in the year. This is huge for them. Remember, I said it's probably going to be critical for them to get that bye week in the playoffs. Got to go to Chicago and get a win. All right, the Tennessee Titans at the Indianapolis Colts. So Mason Rudolph's going to start this one. Yeah, not really much to say about this one. Maybe Anthony Richards and Jonathan Taylor give us some highlights. Michael Pittman Jr. The Titans, obviously Mason Rudolph came in and had a better game than Will Levis, but the Titans have not been that explosive team, that team that we could see make explosive plays in the last few weeks. So just another crappy AFC South matchup. All right, the Los Angeles Rams at the New York Football Jets. So Rams right there neck and neck with the Seattle Seahawks. Jets got a win last week. You're going to have to play the Jets if you're the Rams. They're not going to lay down here. Maybe they have a little momentum. You're going on the road. Big game, obviously, for the Rams, though. Like I said, that NFC West, it's three. I think the Niners are out of it, so it's a three-team race, and the Cardinals barely have their head above water, and the Rams Seahawks neck and neck. This is pretty big. Philadelphia Eagles at the Washington Commanders. So the Eagles here are going to look up to wrap up the NFC East, make it official that there won't be a repeat champion in 20 years in the NFC East. We know that's going to happen because the Cowboys, who won it last year, can't win it. Big game for Washington, because if they lose, that means one of those maybe teams in the NFC West could creep back into the wild card race, and it would be very disappointing for the Burgundy of Gold if they do not make the playoffs this year, considering the great improvement they've made and how they started the season. So, it is in Washington. And Philly, I don't know if they're going to continue to win out, but it is a tough task taking on those Eagles when they have all those playmakers. All right, the Cleveland Browns at the Cincinnati Bengals. So Dorian Thompson-Robinson is getting the start for the Browns. The Bengals, they've won 2 in a row. Joe Burrow having a great season statistically. Jamar Chase rewriting the record books. Old-fashioned old Ohio rivalry late in the season. hey, we'll see. I think the fans will be into it. Obviously, it's a one of those in-state battles, and Ohio is, probably outside of Texas. I mean, it's the birthplace of football, so you got that, and you got some explosive playmakers for the Bengals. All right, the Minnesota Vikings at the Seattle Seahawks. So, big game for both teams because the Minnesota Vikings trying to stay right there with the Detroit Lions. Still have a shot at the 1 seed. Seahawks, they do not want to fall behind the Rams. Got to keep pace with them. Um, I just like Minnesota here, though. They're just, especially if Geno Smith's not going to play, and not that Geno Smith's a world beater, but I like their chances better with him than Sam Howell. The Vikings, they have a lot of playmakers, and they're well coached. And man, what Kevin O'Connell is doing with Sam Darnold, I mean, he's my coach of the year, definitely. The New England Patriots at the Buffalo Bills. So I think Buffalo keeps steamrolling, rocking and rolling, and Josh Allen, he's just going to, continue his MVP ways. It's pretty much locked up, and this might be the year. I'm not going to jinx it any further. This might be the year. All right, the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Las Vegas Raiders. So, yeah, not much here. 3-11 versus 2-12. Probably Mac Jones versus Desmond Ritter. Yeah, maybe do something else later in the afternoon. The San Francisco 49ers at the Miami Dolphins. So two teams, two coaches very familiar with each other, kind of similar philosophies. Two teams having very disappointing seasons. Yeah, I don't know. Is there one last gasp? I mean, both teams are kind of still mathematically in it, but after that, and both coaches, who I think are really good head coaches, are rumored that this could be the end for them in this particular spot. So, strange year for both these teams. All right, Sunday Night Football. Dun, 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 dun. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Dallas Cowboys. So, Cowboys playing a lot better. Buccaneers, have seemed to find their stride. It's an important game for the Bucks. Cowboys mathematically in it, but it's they're just playing for pride at this point. Um, I don't know. The Cowboys have injuries. I just think those guys, Mike Evans, Bucky Irving, Baker Mayfield doing his thing. They really got to get to Mayfield and cause him to make a mistake or two if they're going to have a chance. And Cooper Rush is going to have to play, another pretty clean game like he did in Carolina. I know it wasn't perfect. He had some, oh no moments, but he's going to need a similar performance like that. All right. Monday Night Football. Dun, 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 dun. The New Orleans Saints at the Green Bay Packers. So here's another opportunity, for the Packers, stack wins, be that top wild card team, and or I don't know, Minnesota or Detroit might end up being that top wild card team, second to the top wild card team. But New Orleans is scrappy. You can't overlook them. Rizzi, I think, is the interim head coach's name. He's done a really good job, in my opinion, for what he has to work with. So, but I just think the Pack, too many receivers. They got the running game with Joshua Jacobs, and Jordan Love's having a fine year. It's maybe not, out of this world. Like we had ridiculous expectations for, but he's having a fine year. So, all right, that's week 16. It's going to continue to get more interesting. We'll see who's, out next week and on the path in. Week until the Christmas. So, good luck getting prepared for those holidays, and we'll talk maybe again before that or right on Christmas as we have some big matchups happening. All right, everybody, that's all I got. Enjoy the games.